Family history, Townsend and Reed. Juanita E. Townsend and Gertrude E. Townsend. So, uh, ready, sir? Start over one more time. The Townsend clan are people without knowledge of their past histories, like a tree without roots. Marcus Mosiah. Descending Queen Hill St. Andrew, originating from Queen Hill in East Rural St. Andrew. The Townsend clans were independent, spirited, and hard working people who were mainly laborers, peasant farmers, and idlers. Their dominant personality traits stood in sharp contrast to that of our maternal lineage, the Reed family from Panside and over, who were more peaceful and easygoing in temperament. Not so with the Townsend clan. They tended to be impetuous, determined, and dynamic. Some exhibiting natural leadership qualities. They were Maroons who lived in the natural, idyllic rural setting of Queen Hills, East Rural St. Andrew. Creativity and communal living were essential for their survival. The harsh post-slavery conditions weathered them together and taught them how to be, how to depend on each other for financial and emotional sustenance and survival. Late 19th century was a period of little to no opportunity for the advancement of the descendants of the ex-slaves. Family support and their faith in God were the cornerstones for survival. Having been freed from chattel slavery in 1834, they had to serve 4 more years. Sorry, 4 more years of apprenticeship, which was really a continuation of the slave system of labor, exploitation, and dehumanization. Eventually, they were forced to leave plantations without any form of compensation for their years of hard labor. To eke out an existence as small farmers in the rocky and difficult terrain of East Rural St. Andrew, and to create viable communities they remain in the margins of society with no right to vote, limited access to quality education, and little or no political representation. Universal adult suffrage was granted in 1944 after years of advocacy and resistance, which included the Morant Bay Uprising, St. Thomas in 1865. During the colonial period, reference to one maroon lineage was not readily embraced. It was taboo. The Maroons were primarily runaway slaves who refused to conform to the cruel and inhumane plantation conditions. To escape the hardship of the dehumanizing process, they fled to the rugged and almost inaccessible mountain areas where they established their own way of living. In some cases, they were initially part of the resistance movement against slavery. It is alleged that our grandfather, Alexander Augustus Townsend, was sympathetic to the RA resistance movement, uprising against the harsh socio-economic conditions that kept free blacks in slavery, like conditions in extreme poverty. Our grandparents, the Townsends, 1850 to 1925. Our paternal grandparents were Alexander Augustus Townsend and Jane Townsend Nee Abram. They represented the second generation after emancipation. They were married on December 21st, 1881. The union produced the 5 children: Frederick, Uriah, Aaron, Euphema, and Elva. Alexander seemed to have had other daughters mentioned in his will: Alberta, Maud, Adelia, and Margaret. He seemed to have been married twice and owned several parcels of land in the parish: Cottage, Long Hill, Queen Hill, which he bequeathed to his children as detailed in his will. He was of light complexion with a long white beard and was often prone to carrying as an expression of grief, sorrow, hardship in his life. Born in the parish of Portland as a young man, he migrated to Queen Hill and later married Jane Abram. Our maternal grandparents, Alfred Robinson and ancestor Esther Esther Edwards, were married on December 7, 1881. They were from Content District, and Esther Robinson died of breast cancer at age 56 on July 7, 1917, as noted on her death certificate. The union produced 8 children: Eileen, Adina, Gertrude, Ethel, Francella, Alfred, Eugene, Jocelyn. Our great grandparents were hardworking peasant farmer laborers. Everybody I thought on. Their produce included coffee, carrots, turnips, pumpkin, cake, mangoes, gungo peas, and other ground provisions. They made crude but effective cane mills squeeze the sugar cane and also produce molasses. Along with their subsistence farming, they would offer themselves as hired day laborers. Farming they would offer possibly on the flanks of the state, where they earned additional income to purchase in the Papine Square personal and household items that they did not produce. Okay. They were to a great extent self-sufficient through their creativity and ingenuity. They were able to build their house, furniture, and other basic requirements for living. Strong values of communal and brotherly love held them together as they responded to the dehumanizing conditions of the post-slavery era. Or paternal grandparents up to 1960. Our grandparents, Frederick, Gertrude Daddies Towns and Neil Robbins, were married in August 1907. The union produced the following 14 children. Christopher, Charles, Josiah, Martin, Martin's twin brother, Alexander, Norman, Fred, Francella, Christinella, Leonis, Gwendolyn, Anna, Linwood. Recollections of our grandparents are part of our treasured memories. Grandfather Townsend Grandpa was a strong, hard-working disciplinarian, while Grandmother Townsend was a gentle, industrious, God-fearing, and beautiful lady. Grandpa was a man of towering stature, structured, strong, sharp, dark features, and a commanding presence. In the village, he was regarded as a prosperous peasant farmer, a small landowner, and headman of the nearby Flamstead Estate and Hotel. Through hard work and ingenuity, he adequately provided for his large family and was highly respected in his community. Janetta describes her summer holidays with her grandparents as sheer adventure. I remember our visits to my grandparents during the summer holidays, along with my father Martin and my two brothers Dennis and Harry. It was an adventure walking the long, windy, stormy dirt road from Gap, crossing the Squeeze-Up River and climbing the steep ascending hills to my grandfather's neatly constructed five-room wooden house painted in pink and aqua with artistic lattice woodwork bordering the roof nestled in the cool Queen Hill. It was exhilarating. Fresh air, sky blue mountains, verdant green hills and valleys with a variety of chirping birds to welcome us. Their love and warmth awaited us. They were always overjoyed to have us. And as soon as we refreshed ourselves from the long journey, Granny would be serving us delicious and tasty meals. A true maroon, she used a lot of coconut milk and natural spices, pimento, onion, pepper in her cooking. Even her white rice was cooked in coconut milk. Pimento wood was used for cooking, and smoked jerk pork hung over her stone-built fireplace. And there was plenty supply of jelly coconuts to quench our thirsts. Variety of mangoes shoot all over the ground just waiting for us to eat and enjoy to our hearts' content. I remember small, sweet, red coated robin mangoes blanketing the ground. There for us to have a morning feast for our breakfast. Granny had a straw basket suspended. You asleep? No. Suspended from the roof of her bedroom, filled with candies and goodies for us. I would sensibly slip into her room and jump up in the bed trying to retrieve the more candies. But to no avail, I just could not reach inside the basket. Nightfall was frightening times for a young city girl who was accustomed to bright electric lights. I feared nightfall and the peanut watery fireflies and the dim lights. Boss laugh. Light on there. I said, pull up. Hey God. Fireflies and the dim light from oh God, the dim light from our lantern. My grandmother was always close to comfort me and to keep me safe. As our grandparents advanced in age, Dennis and Harold, grandsons, would have what's this going on? Fortnightly treks across Hope River, climbing the treacherous mountain ascent, sometimes in adverse weather conditions, to carry provisions for them, for which they were truly grateful. Her mother would caringly pack all the essentials, including tin corned beef, saltfish, rice, other staples and toiletries that they would need. She would carefully secure these in plastic wrappings just in case it rained. And it did rain on occasions. And the boys were soaking wet by the time they arrived at their grandparents' home. Of course, my grandmother and Aunt Collie would ensure that they were taken care of. You got long, sir. I can't understand. One hour still. Mm-hmm. I'm saying 1 hour still on the TV. Grandpa never forgot to pray for them and to send them back with God's blessing. On their return, they would take back mangoes, cane, carrot, turnip, pumpkins, gungo peas, bananas, and other produce from his cultivation. Even in his senior years, Grandpa continued to be a flourishing farmer. He was truly at one with nature, a seasoned agriculturalist. He knew when to plant and how to get best yields from his crops. In the later years, their youngest son, Fred, arranged for them to be relocated to Horsley for easier access and care. As they were advancing in age and becoming feeble, their daughter, Aunt Collie, Mistress Leona Farrell, and her husband went to live with them as their caregivers until their death. Our father and mother, Martin and Mavis, would frequently visit his parents in the new home of Ozalite. His son Martin would update him with progress of Grandpa's children, especially those who had migrated to the UK, but who continued to send funds to support their parents. Grandpa was also keen to learn about the progress of his grandchildren. One stormy night, they were almost swept away by the voracious Hope River as they navigated a sudden, forceful gush of rainwater while crossing the river to return home. Mavis described the experience as a frightening event that could have had a tragic ending. Their Christian faith and hope. Our grandparents were bequeathed to us the fine example of a strong Christian faith and hope. That was crucial for their survival in that arid place. God was essential to their lives. Their God was the God of Abraham, Moses, Daniel, and David. They needed him, they trusted him, and they depended on him for sustenance, for life sustenance. They were devoted Christians who trusted and believed in the Almighty God, and they lived to see the fulfillment of His word in their lives. Grandpa knew the scripture and would relate it, and would relate or quote the appropriate verses or accounts that addressed any life challenge you might be facing. Under external pressure, he would say to his wife, Gertrude, the Philistines are attacking me, but like David, my victory is already won. Recording. Elaine would come upstairs and sing all the while. Grandpa was instrumental in the alright, let's start this one. You know, live, you know, enough of me that going on. Alright, still around now. Grandpa was instrumental in upgrading of Canaan Mount Baptist Church in the late 1890s. Along with Mr. Charles Edwards and other faithful Christians, they sacrificed, raised funds, and rebuilt the church. Grandpa was a leading church council member when Reverend M.E. Sawyers, the pastor for many years, relied on his support and contributions towards the building and function of the church. fervent prayer warrior he was. We often heard him pray in his bedroom, early Sunday morning. He would have family devotions in his living room, where he still had an old gramophone piano that his daughter Leonis and Collie played. Leonis was a church organist. As children, we sang hymns, read Bible stories, after which he would hold discussions and prayers, which would include special prayers from his grandchildren. His prayers were usually long and powerful, so he gave thanks for his many blessings and petitioned the Lord for grace and favors. He loved a strong brewed coffee, fresh hard oat bread with his breakfast that his wife Gertrude prepared. Grandma was indeed king of the house. Grandpa was indeed king of the house. He was engaging, assertive, and willing to share his life experiences. A man full of wisdom and prudent advice. He was always willing to offer guidance on a variety of matters, from farming and human relations to world affairs. His son and later his grandchildren would read the newspapers for him, which kept him abreast of world affairs. And he would sometimes give his perspective on the news. Sorry. Grandpa shared with us how he rejected an invitation to join the Bedward revivalism movement in the early 1900s. He viewed this as a cult, eh, inimical to his Christian beliefs. Several of his friends and neighbors joined the movement and even sold their produce and livestock and to assist with the financing of the movement, which eventually failed. The impact of centuries of enslavement and deprivation was devastating, severely affecting the psyche of the descendants of slaves. They were economically disadvantaged and dehumanized by the cruel system that legitimized underdevelopment of the people by denying them access to education and other basic human rights, such as decent housing, equal rights, and justice. Many peasants sought to escape from this harsh reality. Lured by the false promises of a back to Africa repatriation movement, Bedouardism was a response to the oppression of the colonial system in one dramatic incident. Alexander Bedouard, the movement's spiritual leader, convinced his followers that they would fly back to Africa if they climbed into a breadfruit tree in Augustown. The people wanted to demonstrate, the people wanted him to demonstrate this first. It is alleged that he attempted to do so. He fell. He broke his legs, was taken to the hospital. Instead, in 1921, Bedouard and approximately 800 followers marched to Kingston to protest against the harsh social and economic conditions the people faced. The group members were arrested. Bedouard was again sent to the asylum, where he remained until his death in 1930. For the failure of the movement, many of the followers were destitute, having sold and given their resources to the movement. Grandpa had to offer assistance. Some of these villagers, persons, until they recovered from this setback. His daily ritual on his return home included tying the mule, Ada, in its usual place along the right side of the house. Removing its hampers filled with ground provision for his family. Then retreating straight to his bedroom to pray and give God thanks for the day's work and his safe return. He would then revert to the veranda to greet us and to ask us about her day. On a small balcony overlooking the deep descent, was a makeshift counter with its goblet filled with clean water, a face basin, soap, and hand towel for him to wash his hands and face of the day's sweat and dirt. This used water would then be thrown over into the valley. Below, his wife would soon secure a tasty dinner which he would enjoy as he sat at the huge dining table located on the ball circled veranda, where he had a full view of the sloping green hillside with the villagers coming and going on the road. He would call out greetings to Busha pet name for estate
Yeah,
headman
look, go get ball.
as he passed along. And we're out of here.